Hello and welcome to Spook House Radio. Guess who's live for the first time? I am your host, Dale, and with me, Ryan. What's going on, man?
Hello, everyone.
This is working, right?
Yeah, sounds great. Glad to be here.
So the show is going to be about the paranormal a lot, and horror movies some, and video games probably more than a little. But when you start breaking it down into chunks, eventually you run out. Ryan, go ahead and tell them what your forte is. What are you into most?
Mostly, my biggest passion is retro video games. That being, things from the, Atari up to, really the early 2000s gaming. Not to say I don't like modern gaming. That's just what I prefer. More nostalgia there, and if I had to be honest, I feel like games were better back then. I love horror movies. That's one of my favorite genres. I like more cerebral thrillers. I also like the good slasher classics, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are musts. But I also have a heavy interest in the paranormal. That being UFOs, ghosts, things that go bump in the night, cryptozoology, really everything. I find all of that fascinating.
Awesome. That's some of the best stuff there is, man. That's why we're here.
Hopefully entertain others that share these interests as well.
Yeah. We plan to have call-ins, and it's just he and I here tonight. We haven't exactly opened the gates, but our plan is to do a live show every Friday night, probably at midnight, hence Midnight Spook House, and then a pre-recorded show once a week with more specialty things. We're not going to be a broad spectrum show. We don't want to be so you don't know what to expect from us. So we'll keep it in the ballpark. So if you're into stuff like that, then you're definitely going to be in the right place.
Yeah, we're gonna become the go-to hour or so for your Friday evening.
Yeah, I mean, what better than hanging out with somebody at midnight on Friday, starting the weekend with some spooky stuff.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So let's take a quick commercial break, and we shall return very shortly.
Spook House Radio.
And we're back. That was a very short commercial break. So something that we had talked about doing, and I think would be really fun, is like a theater of the mind kind of setup. And I'm going to say right now that it's very much inspired by others before us, but there's nothing wrong with a cool story with a little background music and whatnot. So we're going to do things like that, ghost stories and definitely aliens, maybe even the wood booger.
Good old wood booger.
Yeah, why don't you tell people what the wood booger is if they're not familiar?
I guess I should start with a little background on myself. I grew up in Damascus, Virginia, which is at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. Big trail hiking community thing, but that was a local legend of sorts, I guess you could say. Urban legend, I guess, kind of. It was something I noticed a lot of people saying in that area. If you're out past curfew, or if you're out too late at night, if you don't get home, the wood booger's going to get you. It was always the wood booger. So in my adult life, I finally questioned that, what's that about? What exactly do you mean by wood booger? I found out that people were actually referring to a Bigfoot-like creature. And, we actually got on this discussion in college one day, and there was one of the, the older college guys, he's come back, to study once again, And then, we were talking about that, kind of talking about some urban legends and things like that. And we got on that subject, and, I told everybody about the wood booger and, what I knew about that so far. And he got serious about it.
Tell us about the wood booger, and let me set a little mood music for you.
All right. So some history on the wood booger itself. From what I found out, speaking to locals of Damascus, apparently it follows, your typical Bigfoot lore. Very large, very tall, ape-like humanoid creature. There's usually a very foul smell that it pervades sightings of it. So I guess it kind of resembles the skunk ape legends a bit there too. I always said it had black fur though, and glowing eyes. I don't know if that means, like reflective or actual glowing red eyes. I'm not sure. But that's essentially the wood booger itself is kind of the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot of that region.
That's awesome.
They're at the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of it referred to as the wood booger anywhere else, so we're gonna run with that.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard of the wood booger from you, and it was.
It doesn't call the image of a Bigfoot.
No,
not at all.
It's mostly in the title, I think.
Back to my discussion in class. We were kind of exchanging stories of urban legends, and this guy in the classroom, he got real serious with us. Like, you don't be joking around about the wood booger.
He broke it down, yeah.
Like, yeah. He's like, it's real, it's serious. It'll take your kids. It'll take you. Like,
wow.
One thing I'll never forget that he's like, you don't go in them woods at night at all. Them woods, I'm not sure where he's talking about specifically, but he was very serious about it. I regret now not kind of prying more into that. He kind of creeped us out a little bit, like how, because it wasn't a serious discussion to begin with. We were just kind of joking around, shooting the shit or whatever.
Sure.
And he got real dark on us, real serious. You don't mess with the wood booger. And you don't go in them woods at night.
Them woods. We need more of a geolocation from him.
Yes, please. If this thing is real and you're serious, I need to know.
Where the hell are them woods?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing, I think a lot of the time you hear these things and you go in and you scoff at it and you're like, what are the odds something like that's real? But then you think about the things you believe, I don't mean your morals and values, obviously. I mean, then you think about the things that you hear and you're like, I don't believe that. I think if you give it a little more thought, maybe you could, maybe you should. There's a lot of things out there that we don't understand.
Yeah, I think maintaining an interest in the paranormal is kind of reliant on having an open mind. Me personally, I kind of view my world through a scientific lens. Science, at its roots is having an open mind and accepting that, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers, but we have to continue to ask why and ask for more and look deeper and continue researching things. I'm a big fan of, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Neil deGrasse Tyson. And one thing that, I love everything they have to talk about, except for, when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
And even like the subject of religion, they seem, for the talk, they talk about keeping an open mind and accepting that we don't know everything about the universe and everything. They're very quick to shut down any discussion really about spirituality, or, and that can be along the lines of, do we have a soul? Are spirits or ghosts real? Things like that. Talking about the universe and things like, they will openly admit, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers. But when it comes to spirituality, ghosts, your soul, spirits, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's
Right.
not real. The science is written, case closed. It's absolutely not real. And I think that that's sad to kind of, outright dismiss it like that. Because at the same time, their argument is, there's nothing measurable about, the concept of a spirit or a ghost or,
Right.
there's no data you can look at, it's not measurable at all. But at the same time, let's look at what we know about the universe itself, the cosmos. One of the biggest mysteries that they're up against right now is, dark energy, or that's kind of the running name for it.
Right. Yeah.
I think dark energy kind of sounds, like sci-fi,
A sci-fi made
the evil,
movie that goes
yeah.
straight to TV. Yeah.
But what they're referring to is, when you look at the night sky, when you look at deep space photography, what is the blackness in space? What is it out there that's holding all of this together?
Right. Was it crafted? Is that a ceiling as far as we go? Is that why we can't travel further?
It very well could be. Back to the original point, they will agree with you. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything really about so-called dark energy, and but we have all these questions and we're exploring that and everything. But returning to the original point, at this time, that's not, it's observable. What we believe is observable.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that lends a little more credit to it, but it's not measurable at this time. We don't know enough about it to make any sort of conclusions or
Right.
anything about it now. So when they discuss, spirituality, I'm really surprised that they will immediately shut that down.
They're so closed-minded about it. Well, I mean, and essentially science is a man-made craft. It's the study of what you said, what we can measure. Now, you tell myself or anybody who's ever had a true paranormal encounter or two or three, tell them that there's no way that happened. Like walk a mile in their shoes. You would think these guys would be like the front runners for anything is possible. Ghosts or aliens or Bigfoot or anything isn't possible because, well, it is. Maybe.
Yeah. It's all about having an open mind.
And that's what we want to do here is very open-mindedly talk to you guys and allow you to tell your stories and chime in with what you think about others respectfully, because we're not here to judge. We're here to, hear stories and appreciate each other. But essentially,
insert the classic Ghostbusters commercial.
Right.
We're ready to believe you. I think what makes you truly a scientist at your core is your willingness to have that open mind and to continue to question everything, and to want to, you don't accept everything, you want to know more. I think that we're all, being a scientist is about having an open mind and questioning everything around you, not being satisfied, with really anything as the absolute. The late great Carl Sagan kind of put it best with this quote: "Every kid starts out as a natural-born scientist, and then we beat it out of them. A few trickle through the system with their wonder and enthusiasm for science intact."
Boy, we beat everything out of children, don't we? We start off so beautiful and pure, and there's no racism, there's no real hatred towards anything but baths and bedtime.
Yeah,
and then we're miserable people
that's
eventually.
Absolutely the truth. But yeah, just look at your child. They. I think it's really sad that parents will dismiss this. You know, they do want to know everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they ask you about the most mundane things. You know,
Right.
why are some dogs brown, or you know, why are some flowers, you know, shaped like this, or why do frogs start out as tadpoles? You know, like those are really mundane questions. It's really sad to me to hear parents just be like, hush, or shut up, whatever,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because that's a mundane question to us. We know the answer to those questions, but their mind is like a sponge, and they want to know. And you don't come out of the womb knowing these things.
Right.
And the more you shut down a child, the more you're kind of squashing that wonder out of them. That's what destroys the scientist in so many people.
It is. You put it perfectly. We suck the want. Like you just eventually just like, I just don't care. You almost can't anymore.
And I've actually had somebody comment on that to me, like my son asking me about everything, and those are some of the examples of the things that'll just pop in his head, and he'll ask me, like, why are some dogs brown, or why do some dogs look like this, or whatever.
Right.
And I'll answer him to the best of my knowledge. And he kept asking me questions, and somebody said to me, you don't have to nurture that or speak to your kid and answer all their stupid questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what?
Right.
Really? And they were like, yeah, you don't have to, kids ask the stupidest stuff. Like, you don't have to, always be talking to them and everything. I'm like, no, that's absolutely wrong. A child doesn't know everything.
Nurture that. Feed it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I want to mention real fast, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
If you guys are ever wanting to listen to us, I'm going to post the episodes on midnightspookhouse.com, and you can actually go there on Friday night at midnight and listen. I have put a player on there if you scroll down the main page. We'll also post it in Facebook. All you have to do in Facebook, you don't even have to leave Facebook. You can stay there and look at all your cats and updates and whatnot by just clicking the player in our post. You can use the Mixlr app. That is MIXLR. You can get it for the iOS or the Android. Also for a Mac and a PC. So there are tons of ways to listen if you care to, and you should. So I'm sorry to interrupt, sir.
No, good point.
They don't know, but I did post it. So, and I see that Ryan has not, but he's going to snag that Godzilla wallet.
I love those old pioneering monster flicks, especially Godzilla.
Have you seen the new King Kong movie, by the way? It was great. I enjoyed the crap out of it.
Kong Skull Island?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, I heard it was fantastic.
We saw it in the theater, dude. It was lovely. It was beautiful.
I heard it had a lot of nods to the original King Kong as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is great.
Which is, I think, a lot of movies kind of owe themselves to King Kong. That movie was just like years ahead of its time. I know it's silly to kind of watch now. It's like, oh, it's claymation, and but they were kind of inventing that stuff on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't taking necessarily what others had done before them, like movies do now. They have the luxury of, change his mask and make another Jason movie and call it your own. They, like you said, they did their own thing, man. Revolutionary.
Like in King Kong, the all the sets and everything, all of that had to be, really pieced together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a whole lot about it. They did some fantastic work on perspective, and the jungle has such depth to it. Just an amazing film for its time. But like I said, I know that it looks silly to watch now.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like a real gorilla in that film or anything, but it's a really pioneering film.
I feel like that if it's so bad that it takes you out of the movie, then you shouldn't have made a movie. But It's totally acceptable, even by today's standards. If you think about, we as kids, we knew what it was to make something out of nothing. And I don't want to be one of those old men like kids today will never know, but you could only go about 6 feet from your wall when you were on the phone, Now, most things were worse than that. At least you could go 6 feet. So
Oh yeah.
consider that making a movie, so many years before even that, it had to be quite the feat, and they did really well.
Those movies are really inspiring too. I've never been to film school or anything, but I would hope that, students taking a class like that would be asked to, kind of take a deeper look at the techniques that went into making a film like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, that inspired me as a child to make my own films and things like that, and experiment with like stop motion animation on action figures and things like that. The Star Wars inspired me to make my own films with stop motion animation. And what it was I had the VHS release of the original trilogy, and they all came with, or maybe it was at the beginning of each movie, they had like a 30-minute, kind of behind the scenes spot, and this was back in the 70s, so there was no computer generated anything,
right?
So they were taking you through their process and how they did all these scenes and everything. Like for example, Luke Skywalker's speeder car. It's a hovering car. He's like driving around in the desert. It has no wheels. It's a hovering car. But until they mentioned that, we only kind of filmed it, from the side, kind of driving across the desert. And what they did was they rubbed some Vaseline on the camera lens itself and held that just right, as they filmed that car. Because the real prop actually, it had wheels. So they filmed this car going across the desert, and that bright light against the desert floor, and with that Vaseline on the lens, it kind of blurred those wheels out, so it looked like a flying car.
That's awesome.
And I watched that, and I'm like, I bet I could make my own movies.
It's practical, man. Practical effects, right?
Those are the most inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do anything with computers these days.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter anymore.
I was reading over an article that I was wanting to bring up on here. I guess I didn't decide which episode I should bring it up on, but tonight's as good as any other, I guess. It kind of creeps me out, man. So the headline is The Unexplained, the Dog Suicide Bridge, also known as Overton Bridge in Scotland. Just title alone, I had to read this article.
This is a bridge where dogs are mysteriously drawn to and then leap off of.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm just
Nailed
taking
it.
That from the title there.
Apparently there was a tragedy in the 90s when a man by the name of Kevin Moy threw his 2-week-old son from the bridge because he believed he was possessed by the devil. And he then jumped over himself, but his horrified wife was able to pull him back. I would say his wife probably murdered him after he pulled him back. He wanted him to suffer first. Apparently, he was finally subdued and taken to the Overton house when he grabbed a kitchen knife and started slashing at his wrists. And a jury, believe this or not, later found him not guilty due to insanity, since the man said he himself was the Antichrist and that his son was Satan. Okay, so how does that have anything to do with dogs? Since you've asked. Yeah. Since this occurrence, people have feared the bridge, and some research groups...
The desire to know more intensifies.
Some research groups in 2005 contacted the Scottish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. They actually got a canine psychologist, which is a thing, turns out, and an animal habitat expert. They investigated the bridge from a dog's point of view, and after taking in the sights, smells, and sounds with all canines securely in tow, they came to the conclusion that the cause of the dog's suicide was most likely the result of a strong scent of mink coming from underneath the bridge.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it's not exactly paranormal, but how many dogs are we talking? That's still pretty creepy.
So really, maybe not so much suicide, but, hey, I smell some grub, and I'm going to try to get it.
Right, throw
they
a chicken leg over full of meat, and most dogs will probably leap.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently you can spend the night at the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Get this, gas station. Have you ever desired spending a night in a defunct gas station? Well, you're in for a treat, and you might be in for murder. Horror fans can possibly stay in the same little gas station where they would make their barbecue. I know it's the real gas station from the movie. That's all I can tell you for certain. And if you would like a chance to do it, you can call 512-321-SAWS. Yes, SAWS. 521-321-SAWS. So get on that.
So how much is it for this adventure?
I was going to say maybe an arm and a leg, but I thought that sounded a little too cliche. So I don't know. I'm not real sure. It just says give it a ring. I'm assuming since there's not a price, it's probably not super reasonable. I mean, I guess that's subjective to how big of a fan you are.
You get a T-shirt?
Probably not. Maybe a matchbook or something.
Yeah, kind of, sort of on that subject.
Mm-hmm.
There is, this is back talking about Damascus again. On the way to Damascus, if you're taking a route from Abingdon, Virginia towards Damascus, Virginia, on Highway 58, there is an abandoned house that looks nearly identical to the house shot the movie. I mean, you look at it and you can just kind of picture Leatherface grabbing that girl and pulling her inside.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So like driving past it at night, I remember, coming home from work, driving past it, like it would kind of give me chills looking at it. I mean, it's just about the same house. I'm not sure if it's still there, still standing, but yeah, it's on some old farmer's land and it's just there. I guess livestock can go inside if they want.
That's awesome. It probably couldn't be in any worse shape than the actual house from the film was.
Probably not. It doesn't look to be in that bad of a shape from what I remember.
Yeah.
All the windows were busted out, which that kind of amped up the creepiness.
Sure, yeah.
Nice touch there. But other than that, it could be fixed up, I guess.
Relic, what happened to those windows? Was still really awesome. I've never seen it. I've only been through Damascus, twice? With you, as a matter of fact. I remember the bike trail real well. That's about it.
That trail, or maybe one of the adjacent trails, that's where another urban legend takes place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and we can revisit this another time. I'll actually do some research on the details.
Okay.
But Damascus has a ghost train legend. The basics of it are if you're on this trail, on a certain date or whatever, at a certain time of night, you'd better run. Like if you hear a train whistle, don't look behind you. Just like run and don't look back. If you turn around, the last thing you'll see is the light of the ghost train before it plows through you. I'm sure people will like to hear, the specifics of it, how to avoid, such a fate yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll do some research on that. We can visit that another time too.
Okay. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more.
Spook House Radio.
So our commercial breaks aren't too long. That's a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
We don't like long commercial breaks. So that's the thing. We won't always be this way. We'll have an actual agenda. This is kind of an introductory thing, and we're talking about what we believe, why we believe it.
You hear the wood booger, buddy?
Oh, no. Not the wood booger.
We can talk about dogs in general. And, I think they kind of perceive things that aren't there, or that we don't perceive things that we don't.
There's that's actually really cool. There were a few episodes of Ghost Hunters, which I was a huge fan of before it went off air. Jason chose to take his dog on a few of them, and the dog totally led him to things, which was really awesome. I mean, animals. I mean, come on. They definitely have some sensitivity.
Oh, yeah. To wood boogers.
Yep. I'm going to take another quick commercial break. So, we'll be right back.
Spook House Radio.
We cut all
like
the
my
fat.
Commercial break short.
Yes. All right. So, is there anything else that? What's our next episode going to be? Do you have any ideas right off? So maybe we can leave a little. Hey, this is what's coming up next time.
Oh, but that's a good idea. I've definitely kind of pinned down some good subjects to visit later.
Awesome.
I've got some more research to do there. Next episode, we talked a lot of urban legends and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a couple of local ones. Maybe we can touch on some local haunts. As living in this region of the world, there's lots of very old buildings, lots of very old stories, and there's plenty of that to go around. Lots of local things, maybe even some places we could visit and kind of talk to some people, see what they think about it.
Yeah.
But that's later on down the line when we actually get out into the field and talk to people. But I would like to talk about that though. More local things. I'm really excited about the show. It's been a lot of fun talking tonight, and I think we lightly touched on some interesting subjects. I'm looking forward to really diving deep on some of these things, and especially some of the local history, urban legends, and things that go bump in the night.
Yes, sir.
Things that go flying through the sky.
We've both got experiences of our own.
Yes.
I've got one of the alien encounter, and not exactly an encounter, but one of the alien flavor and a few of the ghost flavor. So
same here. So if you want to hear more of those stories, you'll have to tune in next time.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna
maybe next time, maybe the episode after.
Yeah.
You never know. If you want to hear these amazing stories, you'll have to become a regular listener.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So, again, our schedule. So as of right now, we're going to do a pre-recorded show every week, and I'll try to post that by maybe Wednesday, a couple days before the live show.
Yeah.
All right, and then Friday nights at midnight, technically Saturday morning for you folks who have to split hairs. We're going to go live for maybe 2, probably 1 as of right now. But when we're actually going live, it's easier to ramble. So we'll really just kind of see when we have our agenda written down for us how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
It may be 60 minutes. It may be 70, maybe 40. We'll just see what happens. And it depends on how many of you guys show up and want to hang out with us. So we'll take calls soon. It'll be fun.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to say for anyone who listens later, since you didn't know to be here tonight, thank you for checking us out, and please do come back. Ryan?
Yes, thank you so much if you listen. That means a lot to us, and I hope you'll become a regular listener.
Absolutely. You guys take care. Good night.
Watch out for woodwiggers.
Every time it comes around, I see the same old thing. Friday buzzes past and the vultures start to sing. Baby in the water till it froze. Baby in the water till it froze. Ain't nothing new here gonna grow. Baby in the water till it froze. There's an oyster farm up on Coffin Hill. Baby's fine with that pearly pill. She'll shuck you up a dozen while she belts the blues. Just don't ask.